Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Hoops Unfiltered. I'll be your host this evening. It's Raymond Lyons. And before we get into this thing, man, I just want to give a big shout out to Wilson Tarpe, Cardell Dudley, my man Rodney in the back. They're very instrumental in getting this thing off the ground. Definitely appreciative of that. Also, shout out to Bliss FM, Studio 202 DC for giving us all these nice toys to play with. Got a special guest in the house tonight. Brian Chase, local star at Dunbar High School, went on to play 4 years at Virginia Tech. Also had a very lengthy overseas career. Spent some time in the NBA as well. We'll definitely get into that in detail. Thank you for coming in, Brian. Definitely appreciate you giving us your time.
Appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, and first things first, man, we just had a big loss in not only the local basketball community, but just basketball as a whole. Legendary coach Morgan Wooten passed away yesterday at the age of 88. Career span almost 50 years. Impacted the game on every level. It's just so much we can say about him. Just wanted to start off, just wanted to get your thoughts on, Morgan's impact, how you feel competing against his teams, what, if anything, he's contributed to your career, or just like the players you've interacted with that was under him.
Just when I started playing basketball and I, took it serious, his name has always been one of those that has been spoken highly of throughout the basketball community. Mm-hmm. Always, I guess the bar was trying to get to DeMatha and play for a coach like Morgan Wooten because so many players have came out of that program. Unfortunately, I never had a chance to play against DeMatha, whether it be summer league or in the regular season, anything like that. But I was fortunate enough to play with and against some of his players on the AAU circuit. Keith Bogans was a teammate of mine, and we played against Joe Forte a handful of times on the road. But, you can tell that the pedigree that they came from, which was they were all mental basketball players. They played the game at the highest level mentally, and of course I have been fortunate enough to know some of his former players that played before me, Dwayne Simpkins, Vaughn Jones, and things like people like that I have been able to watch as a young guy that were kind of inspirational and motivation for me in my career moving forward.
Right, and you spoke on just how his players were always prepared mentally. Just what are some similarities between Morgan and some of the coaches you've had throughout your career?
Well, the biggest similarity, which probably would be my high school coach, who's probably had the biggest influence on my basketball career, which is Gary Lampkins. But the biggest similarity between those two was just the discipline that they demanded that we have, whether it be in preparation or it came from the execution of a play, to the discipline in the classroom. It was those are the off the top of my head the main similarities that I would say that those two guys possess equally. Because I just remember times being on the road where Keith he had homework to do. He had to bring his stuff with him in order to make sure that he maintained those grades, and being out of town was not an excuse. Right. So the biggest thing I'll probably say, discipline, like I said.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of coaches especially from your area, you're a little bit older than me, but student athlete was a real thing. Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of you guys were in tune from the neck up, in regards to, even on the court and off. But yeah, just wanted to touch on Coach Wooten real quick, because that's you can't talk about basketball in this country without mentioning his name.
Exactly.
And just going to get into your story, man. How'd you start playing basketball? Who put the ball in your crib?
I ain't had no crib. Nobody put the ball in my crib. Like just my upbringing was tough, and I was just always outside at the recreation center in the neighborhood and just always playing because I didn't want to go home just because of my living situation. So that's just pretty much how it happened. I didn't nobody never, I didn't, I was, wasn't fortunate enough to have like my father in my life that would wake me up early in the morning and take me to the court, take me to the gym and make sure that I was working on my game or anything like that. It was just a neighborhood thing. We always played basketball every day, recess, lunch, after school. It didn't matter. And then my best friend growing up, Derek Payne, he was the one probably the most motivation. He's probably given me the most motivation out of anybody because, he saw what I would do just in the street, just playing.
Right.
And he always said that, man, you need to go play. You need to try out. You need to try out for the team. You need to try out for the team. And, and not just on the basketball side, on the football side too. And I did. And I made the football team, wound up making the basketball team, and fell in love with basketball. So it was just something that I just continued to do for fun every single day. And it turned into me falling in love with the game.
And like being high, you just kind of organically gravitated towards it. Like you didn't have really like the structured upbringing in basketball like kids do have today. Like they have trainers and they're playing AAU at 6 years old. Like when did you start to realize like that you were kind of different, that you were pretty good at this?
My 9th grade year at Kramer Junior High School. If you knew of junior high school basketball back then, or you followed it a little bit, it's a few people that can attest to this. But my 9th grade year, I averaged 40 points a game. And it was, the ball just kept going in. It wasn't like I was going out there trying to get 40, but a lot of them came from me making 7, 8 threes a game. And that's when I really started to say, like, okay, you probably can do something with this, because nobody never told me I was a shooter. I never played on the AAU team. Like you said, I never had a personal trainer or anything like that. I was just going to school every day and playing in the games after school, and then going back to the rec and, playing pool and doing stuff that regular neighborhood kids did. And as that season went along, it was some interest from high school coaches just calling to the school and talking to the coach and trying to get me to come there. And that's when I was like, okay, something there. And I got approached by my first AAU team, and, we started traveling, and I started playing against guys on the national scene. And I was like, okay, now college is kind of in my foreseeable future if I put the work in order to get it. So I would probably say around 14 years old, 13, 14, I started to really, really take it serious.
So what was your game like back then? Because I had the opportunity to watch you in high school and in college and then, different leagues here and there afterwards. And you were a methodical player. Like I can't imagine you were that heady as a basketball player when you were 14. I
think a lot of people saw that I could think the game, but I was mainly playing off of my ability to score and speed. I was overworking myself, and I wasn't really, thinking 2 plays ahead or thinking the next step after I make the defense help to penetrate and pass. I was mainly just trying to score the basketball, but I could also make the right play at the same time. But I wanted to score. So I would probably say, like, I just only focused on scoring and just played, like, really, really fast. And most of the time out of control in to a certain extent. But a lot of times I stepped on the floor, I probably was faster than just about everybody. And, that kind of gave me a certain advantage. And again, like I said, my high school coach has had the biggest influence on my basketball career because he slowed my mind down and he taught me how to play. And he let me play. And so, yeah, the mental part of it came with listening and the experience of, going through those trials and tribulations, those defeats, or going through the mistakes or making the mistakes of trying to put everything on my shoulders and not trusting teammates, and then realizing that, when you start to outthink people, the game slows down. So, yeah, probably just super fast and out of control, but I had a little bit of talent there at the same time.
All right, so it's your ninth grade year at Kramer. You opened that cookbook, gave them 40 a game. What was the high school recruiting process like? What were some schools that were on your radar?
I talked to somebody from DeMatha, just about every DC public school. And back then I was so stubborn, I just knew I wasn't going to a private school. So I kind of excluded any school that came into the forefront from the WCAC. I was not going there. Just stuck in that's what I had in my head. But probably the first phone call I got was, well, not probably, the first contact I had with any high school coach was Anacostia, because it was across the street from my junior high school, which
right.
one block over, which is Kramer. So, I had a rapport relationship with them because they had access to me pretty much the entire time I was in junior high school. But I think the first phone call I got was Wilson, Cornell Jones. He reached out, and he just maintained the contact. And I was almost going to go to Wilson, and then Dunbar stepped into the picture, and it was just something authentic about Coach. He was relatable to me. He talked the way that I talk, and I understood it completely. And he was very adamant about me getting to the next level if I, buckled down, had the discipline, and put the work in. My future was super bright. But I probably talked to just about every school in DC, but it wasn't a long, drawn-out process. Once I got to Dunbar, or once I spoke to the coach from Dunbar, went up to the school, met the teachers, it was a done deal. I said I was going to Dunbar right then and there, so that kind of recruiting process didn't even last long.
Oh, wow, okay. What you got against the WCAC, man?
Nothing. I got nothing against them at all. I just was like, I just didn't want to go to a private school. Like, I don't know why. I have no idea why I felt that way at 13, 14 years old. But I just was telling myself, no, I'm not going. And I still couldn't tell you. I have no idea why I felt that way and why I was so adamant about it. But that's what it was. And I think more so I wanted to compete against them too. Because to me, back then, I always thought that they won the championship every year, even though that wasn't true. But I just felt like those were the powerhouses. Any school that came out of the WCAC, that was the powerhouse team. Of course, DeMatha was always talked about as probably being one of the nation's powerhouses when it came to high school basketball. But I think I wanted to compete against them more than I wanted to be a part of that. And then, of course, friends and just staying in the city. Right. And things like that, that played a big influence on it too.
Now, did you ever consider Anacostia?
Yeah, of course. Like, I honestly thought that that's where I was going. I thought that it was a done deal. It was going to be stay in the neighborhood. My elementary school is one block from my junior high school. My junior high school is one block from Anacostia. And, all of my friends were going there. I just thought that really that's what it was, because I spent a lot of time over there. Going to basketball games, going to football games, because my best friend Dirk Payne, his brother Dwayne, played football and basketball. So we would always leave Kramer to go over to Anacostia. Yeah, go right across the street and watch him play football, watch him play basketball. And we both thought that Anacostia was going to be the destination, but it wasn't for me or for him.
Yeah, because you guys both ended up uptown.
Yeah.
Coolidge and Dunbar.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have been the same outcome had you kind of stayed in the neighborhood? No, absolutely not. I don't think the outcome would have been the same because too many influences. The same influences that I had in junior high school. Some days didn't go to school. Some days you just didn't feel like it. And then you got your entire neighborhood and in the same school, your sandbox friends, and everybody's just funning and laughing and joking, and I'm a goofy guy, so I laugh. I'm a great audience. I tell everybody I'm a great audience and I want to play all the time, and that's usually how I always got in trouble, just by
cracking jokes and making people laugh, or I'm the one laughing. And I think in high school, I think going to Dunbar probably was the best decision that I've ever made in my life, because that changed my course for everything. That put me on that path as far as my basketball career was concerned. But I'm not saying that I wouldn't have not been successful basketball-wise, but I don't think the end result would have been the same.
All right, so you hook up with Coach Lampion. You do your visit to Dunbar. You guys hit it off. You decide to go there. Were you aware of like the legacy and the rich history of Dunbar's basketball program?
I was aware of the legacy because, back then we had DC 28. So you would watch these games that they would, that were already pre-taped on Tuesdays and Thursdays at about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. Plus, I had used to go to the Herbo when I was young. So being in that gym and seeing all of the banners and the championship banners, the first team All-Met guys, was something that I always remembered when it came to Dunbar, just seeing those names and championships up there. So when I got the call, and I knew how prestigious the school was from a basketball standpoint. So when I got that call to go there, of course, my ears were completely wide open. And that was the first place that we went when I actually went to visit the school, which was, we came in through the gym. And I just looked up, and my high school coach, he told me, he said, if you come here and you do what you're supposed to do, your name will be going up there, and you'll be putting a banner in each one of those rows. And that's what happened. Outside of, I'm missing one row, which is a national championship banner. That's the only banner that I didn't put up there. So, or help put up there, because, nothing wouldn't have happened without the rest of the guys.
All right, so it's what, All-Met city title,
DCIAA title,
and national title.
Yep.
Okay, 3 out of 4 ain't bad.
That's not bad. Not bad.
So did you feel any pressure stepping into that role? I mean, like Dunbar's got like we just talked about, going all the way back to Stacey Robinson, and you got guys like Donald Ford, Johnny Rhodes, Romeo Roach. Like, was that even a thing to you, like that, filling those shoes, or were you just going to play basketball and it didn't matter?
I think never felt any pressure. I always, because I wanted to be mentioned with those guys, so I attacked it, as opposed to looking at it like it was something that I had to live up to.
Right.
It was a standard that I had to live up to. I never, ever felt no type of pressure while I was there. If anything, I put a lot of pressure on myself to be one of the best to come out of the school. But the pressure was, honestly, I never felt any throughout high school. Never.
Did that kind of lead to you really just being able to go in there and kind of play a game and feel your way out, instead of just kind of thinking, hey, I got to measure up to these guys, or are people going to think I'm as good as these guys?
Again, I attribute that to my high school coach, because like he never harped on it.
Right.
We didn't have to, he never talked about the guys, before us or anything like that, because I think it was obvious. Like, if we had to practice in it every day, and all you had to do is just look up. We in school, we in gym or whatever, PE, and you walk in the gym and you see the names. It's there. And it's a feeling that you got, like, just being in the gym, practicing in the gym, because you knew that the tradition was rich. So, and the one thing he did was, he probably took all of the pressure off of us just by teaching us how to play and letting us play. And, he was so free with it. Everybody had the same amount of freedom. He instilled confidence in everybody. So it wasn't a thing where if we lose this game, then we're this type of team or anything. It was never that. He, if you didn't shoot the ball, you were coming out of the game, and everybody wants to shoot the ball. So therefore, he created an environment where there was no pressure on anybody. The only thing that you had to do was the things that was in your control, which was play hard. he shouldn't have to teach that. And that's the one thing that he demanded out of us, and that's what made it so easy for us to gel, mesh, and, you know, go on to win the city title and the DCIAA title.
So talk to me about your first year. Like, what was some of the biggest adjustments you had to make from going from middle school to the next level?
It was people in front of me. That's what I had to, that was the biggest adjustment, because I'm thinking I'm coming from junior high school averaging all these points, and immediately, like, this is going to be, I'm coming in to do my thing some more, you know, just at a high school level. And we had seniors on the team. I really didn't understand it, just because I was oblivious to it. I told you I never played organized basketball really until I got to junior high school.
Right.
But, you know, it's junior high school. It's not but so, it's but so organized. And, you know, I was coming off the bench. So that was an adjustment too, because I never came off the bench. And I'm thinking, like, come on, man, like, what are you doing? Like, this guy, he doesn't know I just got finished averaging 40. Like, this guy's crazy. But that was the biggest adjustment, like sharing minutes and coming off the bench. But when I look back on it, and one of the things that he said to me was like, you coming off the bench, but you are third leading scorer. And you're a leading scorer off the bench if points really mean that much to you.
Right.
So, you know, you're looking at it from the wrong perspective. You may not be starting, but you're still playing starting minutes. But we have some seniors that need to get into school, you know, and that's why you know, the situation, I was like, okay, so I started to understand the seniority thing. Like, these guys, this is their last year. These guys are trying to get into school, whether it's junior college or Division II, low D1, whatever. And it started to make sense. But that was the one thing that he always did. His communication level was like A1. So you never was caught off guard, or you didn't know what was going on. If you had a question, he was going to tell you the God's honest truth. And sometimes, you know, brutally honest, to the point where you just like, you better be able to handle it if you ask him a question.
Right.
So
at that point, when he's kind of explaining to you, you know, why you're in the position you're in and playing the role you're in, did you kind of just accept it, or did you still like go into practice thinking, I'm about to take this dude minutes?
I'm about to take his minutes. I accepted it, but it was personal.
Right.
You know, because but it was personal on a healthy level. You know, it was never no animosity towards anybody or anything like that. But, you know, in my mind, there's no way that this guy's supposed to be playing in front of me. And, you know, that's how I approached practice every day. It was competition. But iron sharpens iron. And
absolutely,
that guy, the guy that was in front of me, which was, he was a transfer too, which was a guy named John Kyler. It was competition for me because, you know, he was athletic, he was bigger, probably about 6'2", you know, can dunk the ball easy. But my thing was, I'm going to separate myself from him. He wasn't faster than me. He couldn't shoot better than me. And these are the things that I'm telling myself every day, psyching myself out before practice, just to make sure that, you know, when he goes home, he's going to be thinking about that next practice, because I'm going right at him. But yeah, it was always, I approached practice with the mindset of, I'm taking your job, and whoever else was playing that position, you're not going to take mine. So it was always, you know, I played with a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah. So at the conclusion of your first year, how did you feel? Like, was there any point where you thinking, man, maybe I should have just, you know, went somewhere else when I could be able to just do my thing and start right away?
I thought about that. Talked to like a couple of my close friends. The thought of reuniting with Derek Payne and Al Miller at Coolidge, that thought crossed my mind. That conversation was even had amongst us. And just when, you know, I guess that negative energy started to creep in, me and Gary Lampkins had a conversation. He completely explained everything to me, and he told me, he said, you got the keys to the car. And now separate yourself. And I was like, okay, I got it. And he was like, in order for you to do that, you have to do this, 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 and this. And it starts with when nobody's watching. And from that point on, all we did was just get in the gym. And it was just me and him in the gym. and it was open to everybody.
Right.
After the season was over, throughout the summer, it was open to everybody to come. But I was the only one in there every single day. I mean, you had people coming there sporadically, but I was there. I was in the gym 5 days a week, and we didn't have to. It was nothing that we were paying for, and it wasn't mandatory.
Just extra work.
It was just work. And sometimes we would go twice a day. We would lift and work out in the morning and then just work out in the afternoon.
So what gave you the confidence to walk in your coach's office and have that conversation?
Because I'm stubborn and I got an attitude problem. And he channeled that. He was one of those, because he's stubborn and he had an attitude problem too, from the same neighborhood, which we're not the same neighborhood, but of course Ward 8 from Valley Green. And, grew up the same living conditions. So the mentality is the same. And, when I feel some type of way about something, I'm going to speak my mind, and not in a disrespectful way. It was it was a conversation, and he completely understood how I felt, and he explained, like he laid the whole blueprint down, and I'm a pretty smart guy, and I understood everything that he said. I didn't take offense to it, and I was just like, okay, and I bought in, and me buying in, it turned everything around completely from my first year to my second year.
So if obviously you guys had a good rapport since you chose to go there, but did that situation kind of strengthen your bond with him?
For sure. Because again, he was always honest. He was always straightforward. And we spent so much time together because I was in the gym every day.
Right.
And twice a day. So we would be in the gym, and then we would take maybe an hour and a half break, get some lunch, and then we right back in the gym. So I'm probably with him 6 hours out of a day during the summertime.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is a everyday thing, and until summer league started or whatever. So we spent plenty of time together. He would come and get me on Sundays to take me up Murray.
Okay.
When a lot of the college players from Georgetown, you have, pros that's in town coming up there to play, and I'm on the floor with these guys and, quite frankly, getting my ass handed to me. But, I had to go through that kind of a gauntlet in order to become the basketball player that I wanted to be and that I was destined to be. So, our bond became like super duper tight because I bought in and I listened to everything he said, and nothing that he said was wrong.
So so now you're going into your junior season. What's your mentality just headed in to the basketball year?
Kill. That's it. That was my mentality. Like, I'm not a talker, or I don't do a lot of trash talking or anything like that. But in my mind, I have my own thoughts, and my whole thing was like, I am going to kill this year. That was my whole thought process. Like, and of course, that was the individual thought process. But again, it was to win the championship. But I just wanted to kill everything that was in front of me. And I want to say my junior year, we came in third place that year. We lost to Anacostia, who would eventually go on to win the city title or whatever. We lost to them. But it was a big difference. I went from averaging 13 points and maybe 2 assists my 10th grade year to 19 and 7. But it was the way that I played. Again, I bought in. Again, I was in the gym every day. So the degree of difficulty on my shots selection was totally different. I was taking better shots. I was seeing the floor. I didn't have to look over my shoulder and worry about coming out. And he would have moments where he would always challenge me to do certain things, where if it's summer league, I couldn't shoot a three in the first quarter. I couldn't shoot a three in the first quarter, and if I did, he would take me out the game. So it was little things like that where he would challenge me to do certain things. So his whole thing was, you're going to get everybody involved, and then he would say, he would push the button. He would tell me, the button is pushed, go. And then that meant, when he said that just meant run wild, because now everybody's relaxed and everybody done fell asleep, and now the pace of the game has completely changed. And he always broke it down to me like scoring is the easiest part. If you break it down, if you can score 5 points a quarter, that's your 20 points a game right there.
Right.
And that's how I always looked at it when it came to scoring, because I knew I could score 5 points a quarter, i.e. I averaged 19 points a game my junior and my senior year because I broke it down into quarters. If I got that 5, then I made sure that everything else was flowing smooth, and I just pick and chose in spots.
Okay, cool. So 10th grade, you just kind of coming in, getting settled. 11th grade, you get your legs up under you. 12th grade, it all comes together. You reach the mountaintop. What does that feel like?
Probably the best, because that entire year after my junior year was a roller coaster ride, but a fun one.
Right.
From playing on DC Assault, traveling the entire summer, playing against top level competition in Vegas, California, all up and down the East Coast, out west, Midwest. And, the letters, college recruiting letters starting to come in, so it was just more of an exciting time to start when, once I started to see the letters, it was like the work is paying off because the other people are seeing it. And, we had 2 transfers, which was 2 of my teammates on our DC Assault team, which was Choice Haynesworth and Bernard Robinson. Even though Bernard was already there my junior year, he just wasn't eligible to play.
Okay.
But we knew going into into our 12th grade year that we could actually do something special. And again, we got everybody on the same page and everybody bought in, and it was fun. And everybody played hard. And you got 3 guys who just spent, your 3 main guys who just spent the entire summer together.
Right.
On the road, together. So that chemistry was there immediately because we were already friends, pretty much brothers. And of course, the chemistry is easy to, that kind of thing is easy to mesh when you like each other.
Right.
And that's the one thing we all did as a team that year. We liked each other. We got on each other, but, everybody respected each other in that aspect too. And we actually did something special that year. Like, we didn't lose a game in the DCIAA at all that year. And, I think we had started out maybe in the top 15. And
is this nationally or?
And no, locally. And we were right outside the top 25 nationally at the end of the season. But we wound up finishing number 1 locally, of course, because we won it all. We won the city title. So that entire process going into my 12th grade year probably was one of the most fun experiences that I've had in my basketball career.
All right, so now it's college time. All right, we know you ultimately went to Virginia Tech. What were some of the other schools that you were interested in?
Xavier, Pitt, Duquesne, and that's pretty much who I narrowed it down to. And again, like, I'm not in Central Florida, and I'm not a long process. I don't like the process to be long.
Just
nothing.
Get in and get out.
So I took my visit to Virginia Tech and I committed right then and there. That was it. I was done. So kind of the same process with going to high school. Like, I wasn't going to do all that. And, I went down there. I loved the school. And I committed right then and there. And I missed the first 7 games of the season because I didn't qualify. So I had to wait till they started giving the SAT, ACT tests out again. And I wound up getting it on that first test in October. So once I qualified, I arrived on campus that second semester, so that December. And again, same mindset. I'm going in here to kill. Take somebody's spot. Now this is what I work for. And, surprisingly to myself, they needed some help. Because they wasn't scoring the ball really well, and they had some upperclassmen on the team, and my first game was the San Juan Shootout in Puerto Rico. So I got on campus like December the 18th. was 17th, and we were on a flight to Puerto Rico the next day. I hadn't had any practice.
Damn.
At all. I had a walkthrough practice before we got on the plane. That was it. And we was on a plane to Puerto Rico the next day. And then we had 3 games. We played, I forgot who we played the first game. And then we played Auburn, which had Chris Porter at the time, and they were ranked in the top 25. We played them the second game, and then we played the University of Louisiana Lafayette. But just that tournament in itself, it let me know, like, okay, you can do it. Because I wound up with no practices and just those 3 games. I made the all-tournament team in San Juan, averaged maybe like 17, 18 points a game, and just fresh off of nothing, off the plane. I had no practice, and I just went out there and just played. Shot the ball well, and the rest was history after that. And again, my freshman year, we went A-10. And, I had set a rookie record for most 20-point games in a season. Made the Atlantic 10 all-rookie team. Second on the team in scoring. It was a great freshman year and introduction to college.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're about to get out in a few minutes, but I did want to touch on some things like so you go to Virginia Tech, have a pretty stellar career. In regards to your pro career, like after succeeding at pretty much the highest level of college basketball, did you ever like feel some type of sense of unfulfillment that you never really had a substantial amount of time in the NBA, or were you just kind of playing it as it goes?
No, I never felt, slighted by the least, because it's a billion people trying to get that opportunity, and I know how fickle just getting the opportunity is. Like it's a very, very slim chance. Of course, I would have wished that I would have had more of an opportunity to, control my own destiny, and which would have been, getting more minutes or longer, more minutes just to see if I can stick around a little bit longer. But, I was more so just happy as hell that everything that I put the work in for, I achieved the goal or a dream that a lot of people can only, they can't even fathom. Right. Being on that level. But no, I didn't feel like I needed, more time or anything like that. I was just happy that, to have experienced it more than anything. And and it still helped, push along my basketball career overseas.
Right. And this is something we talked about before, but I think it's a very, very interesting nuance to your career. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody explain this before. But you said you kind of, when it got to a certain point, you kind of leverage the NBA Summer League to kind of advance yourself with your overseas career. Just kind of go into depth about that.
Of course, because it's business at the end of the day, and there are no guarantees. Of course, everybody's lobbying for those 450 positions in the NBA, but then when you find your path. And you see where you can leverage, or maximize your dollar amount, your contract, whatever. You try to do it, and that's what I did. Just about every first division team was represented, or just about is always represented by, whether it's an agent, whether it's a general manager or something. They're always represented at the Las Vegas Summer League. And or Orlando, whatever, and they're scouting, because everybody's not going to get a call to come back to vet camp or whatever, and they know if they get you to sign this contract before one of these NBA teams sign this contract, then they have you locked in. And of course, you playing on that level, it's an incentive for them to offer you more money so that you can come right away. So I would probably say by my second or third summer league, that's what I started to leverage. I started to leverage playing summer league for that reason and that reason alone.
Okay, yeah, and that's a real interesting thing that I think needs to be, that information needs to be presented, because I don't know for certain, but like I said, that was the first time I ever heard somebody go that route. And like there's nothing wrong with the G League at all.
At all.
Like, I mean, you're basically holding hands with the NBA team,
Right.
But there's more than one way as a skin a cat.
Exactly.
Man. Like
Exactly. And I played a year and a half in the G League, and that was a great opportunity. And that was, of course, coming off of me being waived by the Utah Jazz when I first went there. But, once you get on that level and you start to see how the business moves
Right.
a little bit, then you start to change your direction. You start to change your path, and you start to try to put yourself in the best position for you and your career. At the same time, of course, I would have loved to get the invite back to vet camp and hopefully, get some guaranteed money.
Right.
Or whatever, but when those options weren't there, and I knew I had guaranteed money on the table from teams in Italy, Russia, France, Spain, whatever, then okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to cut my summer short, but I'm about to start getting paid probably 3 weeks after the summer league is over with.
Right.
So time to get ready to go, take care of the family.
All right. Well, that's our time, man. Definitely appreciate your conversation. Might even have you back. There's a couple more things I wanted to get into.
Anytime.
But yeah, like I said, man, thanks for your time. And this is the first episode of Hoops Unfiltered. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll definitely be back with more.